from.
Oh, geez. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Half our band had to cancel it. Yeah. Grant, our guitar player, called me from the Walgreens parking lot in New Jersey, like on his way up with Aiden in the car, the bass player, and he thought, man, I don't feel so good. I'm taking a test. Oh, does maybe the two lines isn't really real. Maybe, I don't know.
So he didn't play the show?
He didn't play the show. We had to scramble. Joe and I had to scramble with, but luckily in Portland, Maine, is full of musicians we know, and we were able to pull something together pretty easily.
Yeah. Actually, David Balakrishnan just replied to me, and I gave him this link because I was thinking, how fun would that?
Oh, great!
But I don't know, so.
Oh man, well that'd be cool. Yeah, because of course David is responsible for that amazing arrangement, and really something that I don't know if he even it's just one of those things, that right at the beginning of the group, when you're excited and things just fly out of you, there's a lot of energy, and David really came up with something, iconic and wonderful, and really, man, just so, iconic. It's just really a classic, arrangement. It's got all the, the things that you look for, in a string quartet, just like a conventional string quartet arrangement. And yet there's also, we added all the innovative stuff that we were doing with the rhythms and all that kind of stuff. It was really amazing. And he definitely deserved the Grammy he got for the arrangement on that.
Can you talk a little bit about that 1990 performance, which is we find to be sort of the unparalleled in terms of, I think there have been others since then, but that performance, I feel like just everyone is on fire, and it's just incredible. And I know, for myself, like, I hate it when people are like, oh, I loved you when you were 26 and not now, but do you look back fondly on that performance? Or
very much so. Yeah, that was that was the Lonesome Pine special, right? There was was that we were all wearing these really nice colored shirts.
Yeah.
And, that was we were excited about that in a lot of ways. I mean, just to be able to get on TV, or whatever it was TV, and do, we did a whole set on there, and it was amazing just to get to do something at that level, at that time. And we really felt like the band had solidified, and we had been playing our material. The band knew the material, and just a chance to get to present it in a kind of a public, kind of sort of permanent and live situation was really, I think, everybody was pretty excited about the whole deal.
Had you performed that? You had performed that arrangement before that show, right?
We had been performing it for like 7 or 8 years by then, maybe 6. I don't know, something like that. But a few years, and that was a staple of our set. So we were really, not only had we been performing it regularly on the road, touring and everything, but in all kinds of situations. But we felt particularly powerful, and often when you're feeling on top of a the band's feeling good, and the stuff tends to get a little fast.
Yeah, so. That was going to be my next question. So I think David got that tempo marking 176 from the original Dizzy's original recording. So and we noticed that your performance is around like 200, 206 or something.
It's kind of double tempo. Yeah, it was. And there is a sort of a thing in jazz, performance where, tempos do tend to, gradually get faster. And you see that, especially in Miles Davis in the live, any jazz band tends to speed up, and uh, over time, and we just felt, we were kind of feeling it, and we said, oh man, we can do this, and just got carried away by our own, uh, gloriousness, or
No, I mean,
self-perceived gloriousness. I don't know. It was pretty great, and yeah, I still can't believe I got through that little that little linking, the little cadenza there at the beginning.
that was going to be my next question. I mean,
That is a famous moment in jazz as well, because that the final take of Night in Tunisia with Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie did not have Charlie Parker's best cadenza there, and there's an alternate take where he really plays the crap out of it. That didn't, they screwed up the rest of the arrangement. So, all that stuff is released now, so you can kind of go back and kind of, it's all documented. But I if I tried to play the Charlie Parker solo, I probably would have screwed it up. So I always just improvised something.
what? No way.
Oh, that's improvised. Yeah, I could never do a prepared thing on that because it's just too hard, because some days you can play it and some days you can't play it, so I would just go with what I could do.
Wait, we're talking 16th notes at 210, like.
Yeah, but as you know, when you're improvising, you just get to play the stuff you can play at the time. That was a great quote, famous quote of Stefan Grappelli. He say, "Oh, in classical music, you always have to play what you cannot play, but in jazz, you only can get to play what you can play." And so that was that cadenza is always assembled from it's chunks, right? As when you're improvising, the chunk, you're not thinking note after note after note. You're thinking complete sentences which get chunked in. So that was something that I was doing at the time. Was okay, well, this is something that I know how to do. You can't think about it. Your mind goes into fugue state, and then your fingers, like hands, do your stuff.
I mean, and on the recording, on the Turtle Island recording of Night in Tunisia on the album, your solo break is so beautiful. I actually
thank you.
transcribed it because it's so, every note is so beautiful in there, and and so, but that was improvised.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, that was tough because I was trying, Dave and I were, I was trying to stay. Well, Dave is so at that point was so embedded. He is in jazz language, bebop language. I knew he was going to play something insanely great. So I was at least trying to, kind of play something coherent. That was always my job, is just be coherent. You're going to be playing some fiddly stuff because you can't help it, which is fine because we didn't want to sound alike or anything. We didn't want to sound like a bunch of Charlie Parker clones. But it was nice because I could always rely on Dave to play the jazz, legit jazz language stuff, and then I got to kind of be myself a little bit more.
Wow. And speaking of you and David, let's talk about that amazing cadenza, or the repertoire.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah.
It sounds 100% improvised, and yet if you listen closely, the reaction times are too quick sometimes. You must have planned a lot of things out.
Yeah, that stuff is the tail that wags the dog, and especially in that and that one, we kind of went on. Yeah, unconscionably, but Dave and I mean, that was part of our really wonderful, we were interested in all the same kind of music, and interested in each other's playing deeply, and it was always easy to have a musical conversation where we were, echoing each other. And because we had played together so much, even previous to Turtle Island, we had been playing together for 2 or 3 years in various kind of less formal groupings and things like that. But we had played gigs and so forth. And we made a record with Matt Glazer called the Jazz Violin Celebration, all that stuff. So we were really, familiar with each other's, where we would go. You're right. It's a lot of that stuff is sort of recycled ideas, general ideas where we're going to go. And really, we were almost sort of more playing with density rather than, actual, okay, well, we're going to play this progression here, this there. We're just sort of, we're going to do a lot of, really, dominant seventh language, back and forth, and like if he does something, then I'll do something, and
the whole thing seems to be sort of roughly over the dominant, and that's what I know. That at first glance, again, it seems so random and awfully random, but it is.
Yeah. Well, Dave has an incredible sense of humor too, so there was definitely some like, back and forth between like, sublime and stupid. As always, it was kind of our vibe. It's our jam.
But also, those quotes that you inserted in there are not like very sharply set up. You morph so seamlessly, and like we're in the quote before we know we're in the quote, and so that must have taken.
That's true of that was true of us too at the moment. You just relying on your not trying to do too much conscious work at that tempo is always a good idea. And because we had played it so much, and we had a big big library of stuff back there.
Wait, so none of it was written out.
Oh, not a bit. No, you did. I can't even imagine. That's for the people that can play Paganini. So, like you can play that. That's a whole other level of training that is so beyond what I can do. And so again, we just play what we can play. That's what we play. That's what we practice. And knowing each other's playing very well, and it's a little bit of it's like there's a little bit of competition. It's like, oh yeah, well, how about this? Try that, and that's always friendly competition is a beautiful thing, can be,
we're doing it with violin and cello.
Cool. Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's even better in a way. Yeah. Well, violin and cello, yes, because I was playing the octave violin.
Yes. So that goes lower than a viola, so it's super growly.
Yeah, that's a nice. It's always good because then it's like the analog of like low voice, high voice. Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
But because we don't really Debbie and I don't really think of ourselves as improvisers. So I wrote like a template out and we're gonna try to randomize.
Oh, that's cool. That's great. So you have your kind of your general ideas and how it's how it's going to go, and probably it's almost like a density map, right?
Yes.
Something. Yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful.
But I wanted to ask you actually because I don't have time to submit a ArtistWorks video. How do we make the transitions from random and improvised to going back to the template? How do we make it seamless and
that is the hardest trick. It's going back and forth, and we did that a lot, and we got better at it as we went. For that stuff, we did it in the context of the arrangement of the a lot of the tunes where we're back and forth between the highly arranged, because they're the head of 1980s is as as you saw, it's very specific. The voicings are super specific, and then we had a pretty clean delineation between we're soloing now, we're not soloing, and but that's the hard stuff, and I think you have to kind of trust yourself to give yourself. It's going to seem like a half hour, like getting out of the arranged stuff into the wimbly wombly stuff. But it's really, for the audience, it's only like a second or maybe a second and a half or something like that. So you let your fingers run. You can pause. it can, just hold a note, whatever it takes, to just kind of, and the audience needs that too. They need to have a little downtimes. We didn't give them any chance to. We didn't give a chance to just
Well, I was
hear
gonna
themselves
say, like,
think.
your pacing is, even though you ramble on for like 3 minutes, the pacing is
Mhm.
pretty tight,
Yeah.
and so I was actually worried about giving it too much space.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. In fact, we could have and should have given it quite a bit more space. But just the way we are, we're kind of, we kind of get obnoxious a little bit together sometimes, and it's, it's just who we are, and so we kind of climb on each other's shoulders a little bit, like, oh, hey, yeah, like, how about me? Yeah, hi. I'm like, oh, I'm here too. Hello.
Just amazing. It's just, and I'm so happy that it's on YouTube for the whole world to see. It's just the most amazing
That's
moments.
that's really sweet, Chad. Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad I'm glad. I mean, it really means a lot when somebody of your caliber, as far as just a player and great musician, and really know your instrument, and have worked it for so long, to somebody who has a positive reaction like that really means a lot. And yeah, it feels like, oh yeah, maybe we did do something good there.
And
So
Mark,
that's
the
great.
drummer, sounds completely amazing.
Marcus, yeah. When you think about like what he was doing, the amount, just because he's one of those people, and there are people who play great, and you can see them, their hands working and everything. But Mark is one. You see these people every so often. They just kind of put their hands over the instrument and they kind of wave them around, and the music just flies out. It's amazing, and it's a beautiful thing. And Mark was always kind of like miraculous in that way. You could just count on him to come up with something that nobody had ever, he was kind of like, oh man, like, God, I have to play the cello again. And oh geez. And then he does it, it's incredible. So
Um, was being in a quartet like that sort of, I mean, I know you've been in so many groups, um, and maybe some larger ensembles where there's sort of a core ensemble,
mhm.
with maybe rotating members or whatever. But being in a quartet like that, what are what were your challenges?
I think that, I think it's really some of the challenges everybody encounters with a string quartet. Everybody's playing the same instrument,
Mhm.
and everybody's got this crucial role. And who's the boss at any given time, and traditionally, I think, the first violin is supposed to be sort of the leader, but that it never quite works out that way, because the people that are doing support, or who's really, I mean, people that, especially the lower instruments, are really controlling a lot of the vibe. It's it's like if you have a drummer in the band, I mean, no matter who's leading, it's the drummer is the boss. So make friends with your drummer.
Yeah.
And I think, generally, just the way things are passed around, certainly, any, like a conventional string quartet is just as, maybe even harder, in a way, because we were able to, like, really, the roles were like even farther away from each, because we were just really playing rhythms, a lot, and just choosing our own voicings and things like that, within certain parameters. Sometimes we'd have the voicings written out in that arrangement. Actually, I think that's the way it is, right? You just have notes and then some suggested rhythms, and that's what you play, so that you don't double each other, because you want to get some of those complicated chords. If you get four notes, then if people are doubling each other in notes, then it's yeah, you don't get the full harmonic thing. So but you get to play whatever rhythm you want in a way. But of course, that so there's a lot more freedom, I think, for what we were doing. So I think that actually helped in a way, because you don't have to quibble over these tiny little details, because you're so in a not only are you dealing with like very specific page instructions, but you're you're under the weight of history. There people, well, the Garneri did it this way, and the American String Quartet. I don't like the way they did that, but it was really interesting. It's one thing, how are we gonna, and then like, yeah, and then if the composer's still alive, then they've got an opinion that may not, they may not coincide with what's physically possible, on your instrument. So there's all those kind of crazy things. I think we had a lot more freedom, in a lot of ways to do what we needed to do, and especially, with the jazz arrangements, because you're supposed to have that.
I mean, would you ever? I mean, if a string quartet asked you to join again, would you ever consider being in a group like that again? I mean, I don't know.
I think it's there's so much rehearsing. I've been kind of toying with the idea of having some kind of quartet-y kind of group, maybe a quintet or trio or something like that here in Nashville. Well, yeah, when I think about the amount of time I'd have to devote to just actually playing, just playing, just rehearsing, I'm going, wow, do I really have the time? I don't even have time to, get the car, fixed.
So
barely.
you find that like with your other groups other combinations of instruments don't require as much rehearsal, for sure, right?
I think so. Yeah, depending on what you want to do. I mean, yeah, but I certainly like my current main group, which is it's a quartet, but it's guitar, bass, mandolin, and myself on fiddle. That's the instruments have very different sounds, and we can always go back to these sort of these roles. That, okay, well, the guitar is strumming and the mandolin's playing a backbeat, and there's a lot of convention that can be played with, but at least you have that there, so you could probably work up a song, in 15 minutes if the singer, and it would be interesting because we got, we've been playing a long time, we've got good ears, and if one of us wants to do something weird, people can, it's not going to crash into other people's space as much as it would if you're just all playing the same darn instrument. Yeah. So, yeah. So that, there's a amount of that. And in jazz bands, same thing. You got drums, bass, even better, really, because the drums are such a completely different sound. They've got a pretty defined role. They don't really play melody at all. You don't have to worry about it. Somebody has a set of tuned toms or something like that. Well, they can play the melody, but nobody, hears it or cares, so yeah, something like that where you have, like a bass line, maybe one person is playing harmonic stuff for the soloist, and that's like, wow, there's so much freedom there.
Maybe we should talk a little bit about, maybe folks will want to hear about chopping a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, certainly in the context of the string quartet, the chopping was huge innovation that it always just surprises me that nobody was really doing it that way. And of course, as we started, of course, Richard Green, the guy that invented the chop, taught me how to chop. Actually, he had his own string quartet for a while, and they were doing some really beautiful stuff. And chopping to some extent. It just really, it opens up. It opens up a lot of free, opportunity for freedom, within a string quartet type.
Like in an arrangement like the Tunisia.
Mm-hmm.
If let's say, okay, so during the solo section, I'll be the rhythm person.
Yeah.
So I was like, practicing some simple chop patterns, but even simplifying it, I feel I'm not very accurate as if I kind of throw the bow, like.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, what might be sort of a viable substitute in terms of similarity to that sound?
Uh-huh. Well, I think, just kind of like the shuffle kind of patterns, or, something that's a little off the string, using the the balance point of the bow to, you can get a little bit off the string, so you get a little bit more crunchy, percussive kind of quality, but you're still playing some harmonic stuff, and that can be good. It's a little dense,
So you
but
don't want pitch, right? You don't want pitch at all. So you just like loosely
well,
stuff the strings.
yeah. I mean, you could have pitch. I mean, that would be, I think that kind of thing might work better for stuff that's not like 2 changes per bar or something like it. You have like some really intense, beboppy or like something by Horace Silver where there's a lot of shifting harmonic basis and things like that. Then that's hard. You got to kind of delineate the harmony. But if it's like something like so what, or something that's a little more modal, then you could put in a lot more notes, and that would work. And then there's like all that very light stuff that you can do, just bouncing the near the tip of the bow.
Oh, okay.
I could demonstrate that if I could find a fiddle around here. Okay, just a second. Yeah. Right. So there's and actually I've been doing this a little bit more lately. It's tough to, for me to get a good note on some of this stuff, but this kind of it actually there's a drum technique, and I'm always thinking about drum techniques because it's what we that's the current contemporary sound of music is usually there's some kind of percussion section that's integrated into the group, but this thing where you're actually bouncing the bow
like
lightly on the strings, and then collegno, and then you come down a little bit harder and you hit the top of the fingerboard. So it's a little, it just takes a little control because you don't want to bash the fingerboard, but that's not.
And can you show me like a super like 101 level chop rhythm that I might try for Tunisia?
Yeah, well, the thing with Tunisia is it's not a really the first part, like the first section, when you're blowing, it's like A section and B section. The A section is like it's like even. It's Latin, so it's.
Yes.
So I always like this, because it's.
I was trying that, and it's not even.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, that's the problem. A lot of that, it's very difficult, I think, for many people to leave the bow on the string long enough. Between the down and the up, you really have to. I always, it's like, I always think it's like, if you think about it, like one of those little, those little tin monkeys that play the drum. You ever seen those little toys? They're from like the 1890s or something like that, and they go pink, 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 pink. They're like a little mechanical monkey. And when you have a regular drummer, the sticks bounce off, right? You have a boom, the bounce, and that's the beauty of that. But the monkey can't do that. It just goes right. So it's kind of like that. You have to leave the bow on the string for as long as it takes to come up. So.
Okay, is the
So that's a relaxation period, actually.
Is
right?
the down on the beats?
Yeah, I try to do that. It's a lot like fiddling in that way. Like the downstroke is definitely on a, as much as possible, on a downbeat. There are exceptions, but right. So just getting this, is so basic to the chop, and it doesn't, it's not something you can necessarily get. I've seen people get it in about 15 minutes, but I've also seen people take 3 to 6 months, but they get it. I think it took Dave about 2 or 3 months to really get comfortable with it, and then he could do it, and it was great.
You know what, Darol? I actually have the opposite problem. I actually stay on the string a little too long, so it's like
Oh, okay. Oh, that.
Yeah, that's what I end up doing.
Okay, which is swing, right?
Yeah, but I don't want that.
Yeah, you don't always. I don't know what to tell you, but except that you know, you could do a little bit of this where you're just placing the bow on the string, right? And so you're not getting a sound on the downstroke.
Yeah.
So you're just focusing on where that upstroke is coming and the beat.
Okay.
And then you just have a little placement thing. And then every so often you can go boom.
On the fours, right? Or
you could do it, well, I'm doing it on the one right now, but you could do it on the fours. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or you could do it, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Yeah, you can put it anywhere you want. It's still going to be a downstroke. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. And of course, the feeling in your upper body, you know, whatever your upper body is doing, you know, is going to change too, in order to, you know, because, you know, it's not about the sounds, it's about the cycle. You know, it's like feeling the cycle, right? It's not just, we're not just doing that. It's like anything else. It's like a circular. We're thinking longer cycles, and everything else is just kind of going. Yeah, and you're kind of letting the hands, and you know, do the work. You know, again, yeah, preparation is all. But you know, at some point, you just have to let go.
I think I'm starting too fast. I think I should practice slower and with the metronome.
Yeah, it helped me for sure. Yeah, I needed, you know, trying to get stuff even. Oh yeah, what?
I think my arm is too high. I think your arm is a little lower actually than mine.
That's one of the things about this chop thing, is that everything is wrong. It's so wrong at every level, you know. I mean, like we want, when we're doing the good stuff, you know, we're the beautiful melodies and all that stuff. Our elbows up a little bit, you know, wrist is tilted over, you know, all this stuff. Everything is working. You know, we have all these nice, you know, everything is, you know, aligned. So for maximum, you know, just back and forth. But we have to drop the elbow, yeah, and do the horrible grip, you know, just the stupid grip, grip that nobody, you know, because it is, we're still following the wrist. The wrist is just going like this rather than like that, you know? So it's really a huge change of direction. Wrist is flapping up and down, and we're, you know, again trying for like maximum relaxation. When that bow is on the string, we want just nice, neutral, relaxed nothingness. You know, no getting ready or like being prepared. You know, it's just, we want that nice, you know, that would be a nice thing to do. Just let everything stop. You know, that's probably a good, although, yeah, you're doing that, right? Yeah, it's definitely mechanical monkey time.
Maybe the key, maybe the key to making it more even is to make the volume of the down and the up completely even. I don't know.
That is one thing that is good to work on, is just trying to get, you know, it's not going to be exactly the same sound, but it's going to be darn close. And if you can get them even, that's really important. You know, find a way to, and always going smaller is really good. You know, if you can get it small, yeah, because one of the things that I found when I first started teaching this was like, I got a bunch of